strategy. We keep a pulse on risk to keep your operations healthy.
On your mark, get set.
Along the way, helping you to drive competitive advantages. At Lynch Caribbean, we have your back. Contact us today for insurance solutions, strategic risk advisory, and more. Call 453-3300. Email info@lynchcaribbean.com or visit our office in Beachmont, Kingstown. Follow Lynch Caribbean SVG on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or visit www.lynchcaribbean.com.
99.9 WEFM.
Good morning again, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is 9:27. I'd just like to remind everyone that the Searchlight Midweek is online. Here are their stories. SVG High Court dismisses case brought by LGBT men. 2024 Olympic qualifier Shafiqua Maloney gets support from explosive Sportsmax interview. Insurer suspends insurance for Uptown van seen driving recklessly. Fisherfolk Organization president anticipating rough year ahead. Fishermen acquitted on 4 counts, including attempted murder. Teen remanded in connection with Camden Park murder. Prime the Pump discusses being aware of the similar to me effect. More sports and kitchen corners. Searchlight, journalism you can trust. Check us out online at searchlight.vc.
3, 2, 1. WEFM is SVG.
Activated mornings on WeFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so we are back after an interesting conversation in that last segment. So in studio, it's Ari Shaw and myself, Roleza Samuel, and we are in our Talk to Me segment. And a good bit of you had a lot to say in that last segment, in the comments section, etc. All right, so we're leaving today's Talk to Me. It's open for you to give your views, opinions on any particular topic, or if you want to speak on the topic that just passed, you can do so. Caller, good morning.
Hello, my dear. How are you doing?
I'm fine. What about you?
Oh, well, listening to you just turned me on. So, except that I couldn't really tolerate that earlier program.
But you listened to the entire thing? Did you listen to the entire thing? The program?
Yeah.
All right. So this is it.
I am always curious, interested about these things because when I was growing up, maybe I grew up too innocent, not realizing. Well, after a while, I got to realize that so many things you hear in here as you grow up in life, and you experience certain things, then you realize you always in the place that you learn about in the Bible, if I can put it that way. Because following the Bible, yes, and the Solomon and Gomorrah story then came to my understanding, where all of this thing went on, right, according to what I read about Solomon and Gomorrah. But let me say, I feel uncomfortable. I feel different when I hear this kind of talk about sexual orientation and I don't know. I mean, is the Bible wrong? It makes me question a lot of things now. How do you interpret the Bible? But then the Bible is full of complexities as well, right? There are stories there that you can find yourself lost with and so on. So that's why, I bring up all of this and so on. So last time I talked to you, Lisa, I give you an advice. I said you deserve, somebody. I mean, but I maybe had to pull that back because I know this will get you right person. You remember what
I know exactly what you're talking about, Dave. Yes, I do.
Well, right. So maybe I have to pull that back because
No, well, you see, this is the
makes sense.
thing. This is the thing. If persons are so inclined, then they should
Mhm.
feel free to be able to express that, as
Okay,
opposed to
yes,
hiding
I
under the covers of marriage, right? So,
that's true. I agree with that because I've known, yeah, you're right. So congratulations to that guy. But from the time I hear him, start his conversation, right away, I don't get the message, so to speak.
right, but
it's good that he can, huh?
No, I was going to say, so even though you're not necessarily in agreement with everything that he said, at least you still listen to the conversation, which is what I think needs to happen.
because I
People need to
want-
listen. Mhm.
Right, and I want to know how people, not only Ari and Lisa and whoever talking, I want to hear what other people in St. Vincent and Grenadines have to offer, have to bring to the table.
Okay.
Anyhow, all I could say, to God be the glory. I mean, and if God means anything to us, we'll try to keep on the narrow, straight and narrow path. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, take care,
thank you.
Dave.
All right. So, as Roleza said, welcome to Talk to Me today. A lot of persons were very opinionated on the last topic, and a lot of messages and a lot of calls that unfortunately we couldn't read all and we couldn't take all the calls. But we're using the Talk to Me to have Vincentians weigh in on their thoughts about the topic. Now, while we do that, I'll read some of the topics that I saw. He's talking. Well, take him off the radio. We don't need a dormant society. There's a voice note that we really don't have time to play at this moment. Here is the Victorian attitude, public virtue, and private vice. I look important outside and hide my vice behind respectable.
I've never heard of that, though, the Victorian attitude. I like when, drop these little nuggets for me to go on Google after.
Someone says, if they're not enforced, why challenge them? Discrimination against homosexual have nothing to do with the law. People discriminate against homosexual because of what the Bible said about homosexuality. Would he be okay with rapists and pedophiles coming out and saying they want the same rights as them? This is the one comment that I could say I wholeheartedly agree with. My only suggestion, I'm reading the comment, my only suggestion is to approach your fight and passion differently. Because if you come out swinging in your fight, then people obviously going to be defensive and want to swing back.
But you do understand why it is he was as passionate in the way in which he was speaking this morning, because
I have my own.
I guess I believe it's because it's something that he has to keep saying and saying. And
I have my own reservations because he said, Ari, you went to school with me, but I don't know. When we were in school, persons who had an issue with Badu was because he was different, not because of his sexual orientation. He had a I don't know the proper way to say this. He had a strange aura about him.
He was effeminate?
Nothing to do with sexual orientation, being feminine. He was all of those things, but that was not it. There are a number of guys in an all-boys school. There are a number of guys that not 100% masculine. But there was a little
extra.
Maybe he, because of his sexual orientation, he didn't know where he would fit in
possibly
in socializing with people, and then that in turn resulted in the way he carried himself. And I don't think that welcomed persons to befriend him and that sort of thing. It didn't have anything to do with his sexual orientation. I'm not saying that could not have played a part, but I could speak
and were you privy to everything that he went through? Possibly not.
No, and that too,
right.
and that too, we don't know.
Right. All right. So the phone lines are open 457.
Wasn't finished.
Sorry.
This person says, tell that guy that the Almighty God did burn down Sodom and Gomorrah. God made Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. God also said, do not rape. Well, God never said do not rape.
God gave us a couple.
God gave us commandments that we break
should
every day. He said, don't fornicate.
And
don't watch
people doing
your
it
wife.
thus.
Don't watch your brother's wife. He said, do not kill. He said, do not kill. Said don't serve any other gods
52
before.
times?
I will say it 100. I will say it 313 times.
Hey!
The Lord said, The Lord said a number of things that people, and that's my problem with people bringing the Bible into these arguments, because it's only when it suits
We pick
them.
and choose. We pick and choose.
There's a lot of things that the Bible
Pick
says,
and
and there are a lot of
choose.
contradictions in the Bible. But when it comes to certain things that people feel strongly about, then is when they refer to the Bible for guidance. I could never agree with that. And I do feel like it's just business. My problem with the LGBTQ plus community internationally is that they're forcing their agenda on you. And if you don't agree with them, you're wrong. That is my problem. My problem is every TV show you turn on, there's something there. We have a call? Oh, didn't even see the call. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Ari. And I'm not gonna try to
His
call
co-host.
the
It's
sister's
okay.
name because I don't want to spoil it. You know?
Morning.
So I tried to get in earlier. I don't have a whole lot to say, but it seems to me that okay, just what you guys are saying there is as if it's okay to do anything because people are doing wrong things against God's dictates. But whether the people are doing wrong other wrongs, it does not justify any wrong at all, so to speak. Now, the question I really wanted to ask the brother is, and this is not religion, it's not religious thing. If God make us, does he realize that, and God make laws, and does he have an obligation to God to uphold the laws that God make for him, even though God give us the free will to choose? We got to look at that. He give us free will to choose, but he make laws for us to uphold. In Leviticus chapter 20 verse 13, God speaks against homosexuality. In Romans 1, from 25 and on, God say even because the man leave the natural use of a woman, and born in lust towards one another, and likewise the woman does the same thing. God has given them over to vile affection and a reprobate mind. So I'm looking at is not so much what England and America says international laws and trying to infringe it and convince other countries, because Africa repel it. It has to do with what is your duty as an individual, as a human being who are created by God, to God. What is your responsibility to God? So it's not so much about my freedom, my orientation, whether sexual or what, is what God says. And forget about religion. Different religion have different opinions and sexual orientation, but is what God says. God is our creator, he's our maker, he's our sustainer. We are to follow him and forget about religion.
We're also supposed to follow his instructions.
But
Exactly.
we are also assuming, and I'm not speaking in the case necessarily of Badua in terms of in Joshua's case, but what about those persons who identify as being homosexual, who do not have a religion? What do you want for them to follow? If they've chosen not to follow a religion, they will not stand it. They will not fall under the same principles or guiding principles that we would as a Christian, a supposed Christian society.
But listen, religion is one thing. I'm not even thinking about religion. Ari is an Adventist. I'm an Adventist too. Okay, God say, remember this 7th day to keep it, the Sabbath day to keep it holy, which is the 7th day of the week. People keep the 1st day of the week. Other people keep the 6th day of the week and other things. So religion, if you follow religion will take you down to hell, so to speak. I'm a 7th day Adventist because the church practice biblical principle. Not everybody in the church are Christians. People sin. We don't have to sin because Jesus is our example and he did not sin. So, and if he's our example, we can live without sin if he lives in us and we follow his dictates. That's the point I'm making. Follow God's dictate and forget what religion, and you would live according to God's principle. That's the point I am making. But we look at religion. Oh, this religion believe that religion. That is why we go astray. We go astray from the main point. We go astray from the way God set up things for us to follow. And God's intent is for man to live forever. But because we go away from God, we find ourselves in dying, and some of us will die the eternal death when Christ comes back, according to the scriptures. So forget, religion is not my thing. My thing is God and His principle. That's what we need to follow.
But
All right.
okay,
All right,
thank you, caller.
Thanks for your contribution.
No problem.
All right. I think for me, though, the point that I was making is that, okay, yes, there are different denominations within religion, but what do you say to somebody who does not observe a religion, right? Who chooses not to, you can't go and tell them about the Bible or God's works or what God wants for us.
Exactly.
Right, if they've chosen to identify.
Let's take a quick call here. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I think this thing could reach to a lot more and a lot of different discussion pertaining to laws and freedom, and people should choose how they want. So if, let's say, a pedophile decides to challenge the Pope, because we know say everybody have a right to choose how they want to live.
No, but remember this. So just put a pinpoint. Just call it 1 second. Remember, we're dealing with consenting adults, huh? So a pedophile is an adult going after a child. A child cannot consent.
The pedophile. Okay, we're talking about rights and how people decide. Okay, we put it overall. Whether pedophile, thief, robber, murderer, we're talking about rights and how people should live, and how people feel, please, how they should live. And you made a statement about what about those who don't go by the religion, accept the word, or whatsoever. So if me as a mother decide, okay, me studying the commandment without shall not murder, that's my thing after the religion and commandments and things. I should have a right. I just say that I'm saying exactly that's how I think. I just
I understand.
To the topic overall. So that means I should have a right, because this is my life. I choose to. To become a more people.
This is where laws come into place to be the guiding principles or the guidance for how we behave within society, where an act would have a repercussion.
So you see where it boils down to now. So we could go wrong with this thing, and we could go wrong.
I'm not sure.
Pedophilia is a whole different. Is a whole different
I'm not
kind
sure
of
if I could tie the two in.
Sexuality, when it comes to relationships and same sex, introducing children into the mix is a whole different argument altogether. If a man and a man decide they want to get into a relationship, it does not affect me in my personal life. It does not affect my family in our personal lives. I don't understand what the outrage is about.
Okay.
The morality.
But what is morality? We pick and choose what we feel moral about.
Go ahead, caller. Let's hear you. Go ahead.
One question. How did Mr. Badu came into this world?
Yeah,
listen,
okay, yeah.
We realize that what's getting under a lot of people's skin is a minority of people. This is not the majority thinking. There's a minority.
Listen, as I said before, the state, I heard about statements, and look, this is my enemy. They say that because of the code, statements have become more dangerous and this and that. But I've seen a lot of gays and some freely walking up and down everything.
Right, which was what?
But I do think that the wording of it is extreme. But he also went on to receive threats right here during the interview. Someone called in and said, I will call the police on you, you should be arrested. Persons on the live saying, bun this, bun that. So we can't say that his argument don't have any merit at all.
Hold on. People get checked all the time, but you get straight, you buy anything.
That is true.
Okay then.
But in this specific instance.
But then there are, as I said before, is every day we go somewhere to see them. Some just as women, and let me tell you this, it have a specific place over Tokyo where all the farmers camp and a lot of straight men does be there. And a lot of these same guys will be among the holy conversation. So basically people like, man, majority of intention don't really like study. Some people don't do study.
Okay.
As me them before that, when they come to me with their thing, me not have nothing to say.
Okay, fair
All
enough.
right.
Catch me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Ooh, I thought-
Sorry,
sorry, Carl. I didn't know you won't finish with what you were saying.
Okay.
But this is what I mean, and this is what I was talking about when people were calling for the guy who he ended up making his apology, calling for the guy to make his apology. We are selectively outraged with the convent situation. Our outrage is selective. We respond to things selective. When Shafiqua Maloney over a year have been asking for help, people do not interact this much. People do not call in outrage. Why is she not getting help? People pick and choose what annoys them. This situation does not affect their everyday life. This situation with Shafiqua Maloney represents, she is running under the Vincential flag. She is a Vincentian being represented internationally. These people don't represent St. Vincent internationally.
All right, I think I have to the point that you're making about selectively outraged. I think we are outraged by different things on a daily basis. The problem is that do we have the momentum to keep going with them all the time? Not necessarily.
Roleza, I
when
can
it
tell
is,
you, not a lot of people
wait,
calling, trying to make.
Okay, right. So the thing of it is that you can have voice your outrage. There are going to be things that are going to bring it to the full attention. The reason why we're having this conversation, we had this conversation this morning, was because of the judgment that was passed, right? So that is why it came back up again. So there are going to be different instances or different periods when we are going to be outraged, or maybe not necessarily outraged, but we're going to be talking about different things at various times. This morning just happens to be when we're talking about
the
this
passion
situation.
always different, depending on different things. People are angry about politics. People are angry about the LGBTQ rights. People are angry about certain things, specific things here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when there are more important things to be angry about, in my personal opinion.
And that's the thing. So how do you determine what is more important to argue over?
I'm not saying anything is more important. I think that it should be the straight feeling across the line.
We know that we live in a religious society. Anything that boils down to religion is always going to be topical.
Quote unquote. But someone here is saying that they wanted to bring our attention to a situation at the roundabout at Green Corner Mespo, that there have been instances of reckless driving, including a recent incident where a vehicle was speeding and trying to overtake in the wrong lane, resulting in a school child being knocked down this morning. I haven't been able to fact check that, but I'm reading what someone sent on.
I think Corporal mentioned this in his report this morning.
Okay, well, I didn't hear that. Then tried to retreat and ended up crashing into a vehicle. I urge the police to take action and enforce traffic laws in this area to prevent further accidents and protect the safety of pedestrians and drivers alike.
All right, I think so I had reason to be out on that side probably like a month ago. And I remember somebody, I don't know, what was it? I can't remember how it came up, but I was thinking somebody asked the question in terms of who has the right to wait at that roundabout, and why isn't it that the same traffic, the given way to traffic that is observed at Annisville, why doesn't the same thing happen at that roundabout, right? So maybe it's a bit of education. I don't know if people think that because it's off of the main road that it doesn't have to be adhered to. I don't know if it's a case as well where markings on the roads, what do you call those? Traffic, what do you call them things, Ari? Traffic directions on the surface of the road could be put down to allow persons to know, for those who may not know, how it is that they should proceed or go about using that roundabout. So thank you to the listener who raised that. But I think that the matter has to be taken a step further in terms of people adhering to the same right away that is given at the Annisville roundabout, as well as police probably putting markings on the surface of the road so persons could have a sense of direction in terms of how to drive.
All right, the time is now 9:51. We have to make room for community dateline, and following community dateline, we'll have our news in brief. So I'd like to take this moment to sign out, practice empathy, put positivity out there, get it back in return. Do have a safe Tuesday, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and this is Ari signing out.
All right, so my voice will still be heard. So Ari, sayonara, see you Thursday on air.
Tomorrow it will be me and Crystal on air for Activated Mornings, where we have 2 interesting interviews lined up. So stay tuned and tune in tomorrow.
All righty, up next is the community dateline.